and old timers get upset at me, and sorry, Merrill, but this is the most talented wide receiver duo in Eagles history, and it's not particularly close.
And good morning, Birds fans. It's an undefeated Tuesday here on Birds 365. I hope I get to see this for another good couple weeks, if not a good couple of months. Undefeated Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You got your Mac guys, John McMullen and Jody McDonald here to hang with you. Let me thank Terrell Lee, who noted on the comments already, somebody needs to wake Jody up. That is not the case. Yes, we're getting a minute late start here, and I apologize for that, but it has nothing to do with waking up on time. I was going through a deep dive, and I looked up at the clock. I said, oh, man, it's a minute before the show. You idiot. Turn down the lights. So I apologize for being a minute late, but it wasn't because I overslept. So I want to start here today, John. We'll do our usual thing and talk everything Philadelphia Eagles and self-scouting and a double-digit favorite over the Commanders, and still got to wait another 6 days now before the Eagles actually play a game because they don't play till Monday night. Oh, we'll get all that in. John Stolnis, Bleeding Green Nation's going to jump in less than 20 minutes now, and Eddie Kratz a little bit later in the show. But let me tell you what I was deep diving on. Remember, I gave you the tweet, and I apologize for not remembering off the top of my head who put it out yesterday, that A.J. Brown, with the game that he had against the Texans last week, actually passed Jalen Reagor on the all-time Eagles receiving yardage list. It kind of says as much about A.J. Brown as it does about Jalen Reagor, who was here for 2 years and can't hold off, and A.J. Brown, who's been here for all of 8 games. So it intrigued me. So I looked up the Eagles' all-time receiver list, and I also got some bad news for myself and the other Greg Ward fans. Greg Ward's still an Eagle on that practice squad. You never know when he's going to be elevated. Probably not this upcoming week, so he won't be adding to his total. With A.J. Brown's week that he had last week, he now has 718 yards total. Yes, that moved him past a couple others, including Jalen Reagor on the all-time receiving list. He currently sits at number 85 with his 718 yards. If he catches balls for 50 yards this week, that's a fair over, right? You got to believe AJ's getting 50 this upcoming week against the Commanders. JM? They could get 50 yards. Yeah, we're not setting the bar too high for him. He will move into the 80th all-time jump from 85 to 80, surpassing at number 80 right now, Greg Ward. Greg, he's the 80th all-time on the Eagle receiver list. I might have bet against that he would have been even that high, but he is presently 80th, but I think A.J. Brown is going by him with a bullet. It's only a matter of time.
There's not, if A.J. were through, 8 games, so the NFL screwed us all up with this 17-game schedule, but basically we're halfway through the season, plus, an extra game, so he's on pace for about 1,500 yards, and I'm going to guess that would be top 50 in Eagles history, just on one season. That would be my
1,500 yards would put him at number 46.
That's not good, but it's great for 1 year for A.J. Brown. But it kind of tells you this franchise.
Hold on, I guess it would leave him at 46 because DeVonta Smith is currently at number 49. And he'll be moving up between now and the end of the season. So he's probably not going to go past DeVonta Smith, who's got 1,358. So DeVonta's going to have more yards. He's going to be up somewhere.
When you talk, most of the great receivers, obviously you have Hall of Famers like Harold and Tommy McDonald and people like that, but from different eras where passing wasn't as prevalent. One of the most concerning things about the Eagles' recent troubles, you mentioned Jalen Reagor at wide receiver, before they fixed it with back-to-back years with DeVonta and A.J. Brown, was the fact that they didn't have I think it was 600-yard receiver in this era.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible. It's almost impossible.
We're only what, 2 years removed from that, John, where
Yeah.
they didn't have a wide receiver who got 600 yards. Oh, by the way, AJ Brown's got 700,
Yeah.
and we're not halfway through the season.
That was the frustrating part. Now, part of it, they had good tight ends and they produced, but that was amazing. That lack of production at the wide receiver position, and it forced the Eagles to do different things that they wouldn't have done. And there's all these butterfly effects. But at the end of the day, you got AJ Brown and DeVonta Smith. So everybody's happy. And that's the fun thing. You can go back and look at drafts and say, Jalen Reagor's such a terrible pick. Well, if you don't make a mistake on Jalen Reagor, you don't go about fixing it. And, then who knows where AJ Brown is now, but he's not in Philadelphia. So sometimes things work out. Sometimes it's better on the back end than the front end. I talked about luck yesterday. Nick Sirianni doesn't believe in luck. Hey, luck is real, man. Luck is real at times. And sometimes missing on something forces you to do something else. And sometimes that something else is better than what you wanted to do. You don't even have to go back that far. You think about the beginning of this process that got AJ Brown. AJ Brown's only here because Calvin Ridley went on his phone one day and decided to place a few bets on his favorite app. Otherwise, AJ Brown's not here. There's and they looked into other receivers as well. We know Christian Kirk. If he doesn't get overpaid by Jacksonville, who knows? Christian Kirk is here and no AJ Brown. On and on and on and on. Worked out.
Yeah.
That's luck.
How he seems to be a blessed man. All right, if you'd indulge me for just a second, just because I think it's fun, we'll take a quick walk down memory lane. I think Eagle fans will enjoy this. And some of them probably know it off the top of their head, could run down the top 20 receivers of all time for the Eagles. I couldn't, but I recognize almost all of these names. Harold Carmichael, number one. Pete Retzlaff, again, before both John and my time. God bless if you can say, I saw Pete Retzlaff play from the 50s into the 60s, but he's an Eagle all-timer. Deshaun Jackson, who, oh, by the way, did you see him out there on the field last night? Back and active again for the Ravens, came up hurt. Shockingly, Deshaun Jackson got hurt last night's Ravens.
People were still talking about bringing him back as a punt returner. I'm glad the Eagles finally turned the page on that for good.
Thanks for the Ravens for doing that. My quick number 4, Zach Ertz, number 5. That's part of that. Tight ends got all the catches from a couple of years ago rather than their wide receivers. They were going to Zach Ertz. Pete Pios again before John and my time. Tommy McDonald, everybody knows. Bobby Watson. Now, I got to be honest. Bob Watson was a first baseman for the New York Yankees.
Bob Watson. Bob Walston, I think you're talking about, Eagles-wise.
Am I misreading it? Oh, shoot. I need my glasses on. Bobby Walston. Yeah, sorry. Do you know Bobby Walston? Can you wax poetic about Bobby Walston?
Well, no, but I like history. I know who he is, And by the way,
Bobby Walston from where? What college?
I don't know, but he was a kicker as well. So, different era again.
Wide
that's
receiver,
what I know.
Wide receiver, kicker.
He was more of a tight end, but he was also a kicker, which you do not see these days. So that's why he sticks out.
He's the 8th all-time receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he also kicked.
He did him
good
both,
on you. You knew that. Brent Selleck, number 9. Jeremy Maclin, 10. Ben Hawkins, before my time, but certainly recognized the name. And here's one I did not know. And yours truly moved to Philadelphia in 1990. The 2 best Eagle wide receivers catching the ball from Randall Cunningham were Fred Barnett and Calvin Williams, and currently they're number 12 and number 13 on the Eagles' all-time receiving list. Back-to-back guys who played on the same team, same era, same squad. Big difference between the numbers of yards. Freddie Barnett's got 4,600 and Calvin Williams got 3,800. So there's 800 yards between them. but they're back-to-back, number 12 and 13. Brian Westbrook out of the backfield, number 14. Jason Avant. I didn't know Jason was that high. He's 15th all time. Keith Byers, one of the best out of the backfield guys, and a power guy as well. Harold Jackson, 17. Charlie Smith, 18. Timmy Brown, number 19. And the Right Reverend Irving Fryer, number 20. The Eagles have had some good wide receivers, but there's no.
If you have this up, where's Dallas Goedert at this point?
All right, we got to find Goddard. Number 24, 2,816 yards. He's in a tie.
Yeah.
Guess who he's in a tie with? Eagle receiver over the last 15 years, somewhere between 10 and 15 years. And I'll give you a hint. Oh, we can do this. I used to do it on radio, so I can do it here on YouTube. It'll be a better clue.
Oh, Todd Pigston.
Todd Pigston and Dallas Goedert have the exact same numbers of yards.
One's better.
2,800.
Well, two things. Listening to that top 20 list, you see that bottom 10 is not great. This team has not had a lot of great receivers over the years, and that's changed, and that's a good thing. Other than Harold Jackson was a really good player, different era, obviously, played in different spots though. A lot of tight ends too. You mentioned a lot of tight ends. That tells you. That tells you. This team hasn't been great at receiver. Now they're great at receiver. And I said it, and old timers get upset at me. And I'm sorry, Merrill. But this is the most talented wide receiver duo in Eagles history. Yeah. And it's not particularly close. And people go back to Mike Quick and Harold Carmack. And sorry, Mike as well. But, well, first of all, I mean, Mike came in, it was the end of Harold's career. So, these two guys are in their prime, in their early 20s.
At the same time, yep.
By far the most talented duo. Now, not the best, because you got to produce for a longer period of time to be considered the best. But as far as talent, by far the best duo.
Yeah, that duo I just gave you, Calvin Williams and Freddie Barnett, they put up more yards. If you're just looking at gross numbers as teammates playing together, they put up more yards than the Eagles' two wide receivers. But the Eagles' two wide receivers have been playing together for all of 8 games. Yeah. So yeah, if I'm betting on the over on that one, I'm going to take the current two over any other combination when all is said and done. I was missing. It just seems like. It's so funny. You remember what you remember, and you remember the way you remember it. Terrell Owens is only number 41. It just seems like he was here longer and did more and put up bigger numbers. Actually, under 2,000 yards receiving.
Yeah. Well, it was basically the 1 year, and then a little bit of and then everything went off the rails. So.
Yeah. It just, because that 1 year was as big as it was, it seems bigger than it actually was. He's not even in the Eagles' top 40. And that's another guy that, yes, at some point, A.J. Brown will be going by. He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. Thank you very much for allowing me to do that. And I, again, apologize for being a minute late because I'm reading this list. I'm going through it. I can't believe that. Oh, my God. I was surprised just because A.J. Brown is moving as quickly up the list as he is, that we got off on a little bit of a tangent. Oh, we got plenty of stuff to get into as the day goes on, including talking to our first guest, one of our faves, contributor for Bleeding Green Nation and podcast host of Eye of the Enemy. John Stolnis going to jump aboard next here on Birds 365.